What's up, everybody? Kevin Allen here, aka the Fantasy Football Geek from DFS Army, and what you're looking at right here is our new Domination Station PGA Golf Optimizer tutorial. Now, this is the latest build of the Domination Station with all of the latest updates that we've just added. Today is July 18th, 2019, so what you're actually looking at on screen right now is our beta server where we kind of load new updates before they go live. But just picture this video is going to serve both as an update of kind of some of the new things that we've just added to the Domination Station. Awesome features. We're always working to add new things to the tool. And also a general overview of how to use the Domination Station and what some of these things do, because I know that a lot of people, even DFS Army members who have been using this, still don't truly fully know what all the features are. So we've got Fanduel, Golf Selected. This is called PGA Test, but actually this is the British Open weekend, and these are the actual statistics, grades, and points from the British Open. So I'm going to start at the top, and we're just going to work our way through and kind of go over all of the stuff, both old and new, that's going on with the Domination Station that allows you to create lineups. And as you can see here, Uber Eats delivered me some food earlier, and they're thanking me. Really good stuff. All right, back to what we're talking about. Here are some of the options that you have to select when you're using the Domination Station. Salary range, this has always been here. This is just a filter for players and their salary ranges. Same thing for fantasy points range, FP range. You can filter out players above or below any fantasy points numbers that you have. I don't really use those features. They've always been here. Anyway, I don't use them for this sport. There are other sports where they come in handy. Salary cap slider. Okay, here's the first new feature for the Domination Station. This is across all sports. In the past, we've had the salary cap slider, which you can reduce the max salary cap allowable to your lineups. We've now added a minimum component, so you can now control how low you go in terms of your spend and how much you go. The main reason you might use this for the upper echelon 60K is just for uniqueness. We found that particularly in sports like PGA and NASCAR, where the nuts lineup is achieved, and we call the nuts lineup the perfect lineup. The nuts lineup is achieved in most of the larger contests because there's just fewer variables in this type of sport than, let's say, something like NFL or MLB, where you virtually never see the nuts lineup achieved. When that happens, we've also found that it's exceedingly rare that the nuts lineup actually spends the full 60K cap. And on top of that, when you spend the full 60K salary cap, for example, in PGA or NASCAR, you're going to almost always tie with a bunch of other people. So, some people want to set that to 59.9, 59.8, whatever it is. Just kind of go just a smidge under the full salary allowable, just in case you want some uniqueness. Well, now you can also control the minimum salary in the lineup. Again, the reason you might do it is if you've kind of created some difficult settings, what might end up happening is that some of the lineups you're creating leave actually way too much salary on the table for your comfort level, so you can limit that. Okay, moving over, optimal mode, tournament mode. If you're in DFS Army already and you've used this, you already should have an idea of what this does, what the difference is. But I know that a lot of people don't, so I'm going to go over it again. I always like to go over it. There is a little infographic here where you can read and understand it. But essentially, optimal mode is just going to use the top optimal lineup. There is no effect. And let's say you set max exposures on a player. So assuming, for example, that Rory McIlroy, let's see, is the top projected value on the slate, and he is. Yeah, he's one of the top projected values up top. So if I just hit optimize right now, I should get Rory McIlroy in some lineups. Let's see if that happens. Yeah, there he is, right? There he is again. He's showing up in every lineup, right? So there he is again. He's showing up in every lineup. So if I were to set Rory McIlroy at 50% exposure max, and I'm making 20 lineups, as you can see here, in optimal mode, what will happen is Rory will show up in the first 10 lineups that we generate, And in the second 10, because we're making 20, he won't show up at all. Seems okay. Except when you add in a second top value type player, so let's see who else showed up 100%. Brooks Koepka. So, or this guy, Romain. I hope he's doing well, because this guy is popping on these projections, and he's got a 2% ownership projection. So if he's doing well, we're doing something right. But nonetheless, so let's say this Romain guy, 75%. So let's say I set Romain at 50% exposure as well. What will happen is Rory and Romain will show up together in the first 10 lineups we generate. And then the next 10, neither one of them will show up. Well, what if the winning lineup has one of Rory but not Romain in it? We're not going to have any lineups like that because in optimal mode, it's always going to take the highest projected lineup first. So what tournament mode does is it changes the math a little bit, and it does a rear-looking approach to lineup creation where if you set this, for example, to 40%, here's what would happen. First lineup you create will have Rory in it. Now, for lineup number 2, the algorithm's going to look back and say Rory is in 100% of the previous lineups that we've created. He is not eligible for lineup number 2 because he's only allowed to be in 40%. So it won't use him in the second one. In the third lineup that's being created, it's again going to look in reverse and say Rory is in 1 out of the 2 lineups that we've just created, but he's only allowed to be in 40%. He's in 50%, so he is not eligible for this third one. Now, for the fourth lineup you create, he's only in 1. So again, the tool's going to look back and say he's in 1 out of the 3, 33% of lineups that we've created so far. Oh, he's now eligible to be in this next one. And so on and so forth. So that's how tournament mode works. It will actually, on a lineup-by-lineup basis, enable players specifically and exclusively based on max exposure percentages. This is one of the reasons why whenever anybody asks me, I tell you, you should not use global max exposure as your primary way of controlling player exposures. You should set them one player at a time. That is how it's supposed to be done. Individually, one player at a time. So you could set tournament mode. Now, this new feature, prioritize completing lineups above max exposure settings. You should always have this checked off. This is one of the new things that we've added to the Domination station, and essentially it does what it says it's going to do. Prioritize completing the lineups that you ask for above max exposure settings, and what that is designed to eliminate are those situations where you made the math too difficult, you've put these exposures too low, and I'll just show you that exact situation right here. If I do not have this checked off in tournament mode and I set everybody to 20%, we are going to freeze up. Boom, only one team could be generated that way. That's not good. Well, if we click this and run 20 lineups, check out what's going to happen. This is a beautiful thing. See, these guys started out at higher percentages, but it will eventually level down to 20% for each person. Look at what's going on. By the time we hit our 20th lineup, we should be pretty close to no more than 20% for any one particular player. So that is how prioritize max exposures works. And here we go. You're seeing it happen in real time live here, where we're actually able to achieve 20% across the board. Now, these are very, very difficult settings. Setting every single player to 20%, you should never do that. But it gives you an idea of the solution that this button solves for. Next new thing that you're going to see here is randomization percentage. This is a new feature that we've added. And what does randomization percentage do? Randomization percentage, or why do we use it first? And then what does it do? Randomization percentage, randomization in general, something we use in high variance sports to help diversify the lineups that we're creating. And I'm going to show you an example of where this would come into effect and be important. Now, right now we're optimizing by DFS Army points. So I'm going to look for 2 players that are about the same salary. I need the same salary, right? That 2 of the same salary players who have very similar projections. And I'm going to explain here, this 9,700 level should give us something like that. All right, let's say I'm going to just equalize this with the other one. Yeah, I already did that before. So look at these two players. Mark Leishman, 60.859. Matt Wallace, 60.669, right? Both are 9,700 salary. Here's the thing. An optimizer, what it's going to do is it's always going to, given its druthers, it's always going to take Mark Leishman over Matt Wallace because he's 0.2, he's 0.2 of a point projected better than Wallace at the same salary. Now you might say, what the fuck? You know, why is it doing that? But that's how an optimizer works. It's always going to take the slightly higher projected player at the same salary range. That's the optimizer's goal, is to create the highest projected lineup. And if it took this guy, that lineup is going to be, you know, 1/10 of a point lower than this other one. So it's going to favor this one pretty much every time. So what we do to make up for this is we use randomization. And what that's going to do is apply a plus or minus the percentage randomization. I'm going to use a more dramatic number here of 10%, but really I would never, you know, especially for a sport like this, 2-3% is plenty if you want to use this. But what it's going to do is apply a plus or minus 5% randomization to every player on the board for every lineup created. So if we do 20 lineups right now, you're going to see that if I can find the same, let's take off this crazy 20% thing first. Wait, abort. Let's go to 100% just to make this not ridiculous. And I want to also compare the same player. So I just want to show you what happens here. As we run it with randomization enabled, you're going to see here we've got Romaine Lettuce here at 49.635. And here is Romaine Lettuce at 49.644. Every lineup slightly different. It's randomizing the projections just enough to create a little bit more diversification through your lineups. So I definitely like this feature in high variance sports like MLB. I would say golf as well is a high variance sport. So it's not a bad feature to use. It's not for everyone. Not everybody likes this approach. Some people just want to roll with their projections. Now, what else is new? So we've explained randomization percentage. We've explained prioritize. Always check this off. Tournament mode. Should always be using tournament mode. Got a min salary cap slider if you want to use it. What else is new? DFS Army grades. Okay. We've added in a new column here called DFS Army grades. I'm going to show you what that is and one of the cool things that we've got going on, which is optimized by grade, which I love. And this is how I actually personally play. So the reason I've added it is because this is what I do and I want everybody to have access to it. I've been testing this and it's a very, very cool thing. So let me show you where this grade comes from first of all. Every sport is different. We have grades. We have custom grading for pretty much players in almost every sport. NFL, MLB, PGA. I'm trying to think what other sports are, but we do it for most of the sports. And when we do, we want to allow you to optimize by it. So where does this grade come from? What you're looking at here is the DFS Army research station for PGA, for Golf Research Station. And the normal screen that you might go to is this primary one where you'll see things like salaries, projections, ownership projections, fantasy point projections, value numbers, recent history, recent form, all incredible stuff. We love it all. We love it all. You can scroll over. You got more things going on over here. I'm trying to fit this all on this little screen. Made cut percentage, all these great statistics that you can use and work with. Now, one of the problems people always have is, well, how do I put this all together and try to figure out who's actually a good play? That's where we've created our exclusive DFS Army only Stat Cruncher. And I'm going to show you how to use this. But first, we'll take a look at what the Stat Cruncher is. I'm actually going to view this directly in Google Sheets because there is a reason for it. A, it's just much easier to use this way. But B, we've got to create a copy in order to work the statistics. But what you're looking at here is the primary page. Now let's go over to the Stat Cruncher. What is this? Okay, the Stat Cruncher. Let's see if I can get the screen to fit here. There we go. Try to fit that a little bit better. All right, the Stat Cruncher is our own unique system for creating rankings for each player in the tournament. Okay, now here's something very cool. So what's going on? But first of all, we have instructions on how to use this. Log into Google File and make a copy, add to your drive, adjust the weights how you see fit, and they add up to whatever. So let's make a copy. Okay, we're going to open that up because I'm going to show you how this thing works as well. I think a lot of people aren't actually familiar with the Stat Cruncher. It's just one of these awesome tools that we have at DFS Army, and we have so much stuff like this going on. It's amazing. So many things. Most people actually aren't even using a lot of these incredible features because they don't know they're there. So again, we're back to the Stat Cruncher. And now, you as the user, now essentially, we have set the weights for each of these fields. And this is creating a total score, a ranking, so to speak, right? So you have your odds. You have your field rank in the last 15, field rank last 25, this year field rank, projected round score, DK fantasy point scoring, made cut percentage. I'm a big made cut percentage guy. Driving distance. So each course is unique. We may be at a golf course where driving accuracy is more important. We may be in another one that driving distance is more important. We may be one where greens and regulation is more important, or birdies gained, essentially fantasy points gained. All these cool numbers. We have everything. And you as the user can weight them if you like. I'm a big fan of odds values, so I might set this higher at 20 or 25. And I'm a big fan of made cut, guys who make the cut. So I might set this at 10 or 15, or a 15 weighting, right? And notice these numbers are changing with each one. Now, your result is your ranking. Now, what you see in the Domination station right now is our ranking as we have set these and customized these weights specifically for this particular course. So you can just roll with that. That's cool. But if you want to set your own, you can also do that. But you'd have to manually input those numbers in order to optimize by it. We haven't even got to that yet. But so that's what generates our grade. Now let's go back to the Domination station, and I will explain why I just explained that. Another new feature is optimized by DFS Army grade. So in this situation, rather than using this projection, we're going to go to the grade. Now, why would we want to do that? Well, take a look at the difference here with Brooks Koepka specifically. He's projected for 86.197 points. Very close to Rory, just a little bit less. But his grade is significantly lower specifically for this course. Now, why that is, I don't know. I didn't get into it, right? But if you look here, you can see he's got a grade that's significantly lower. I don't know why. Don't need to know why. All we need to know is that. So in the case of using projecting by grade, you're going to see a whole different set of names that are popping up here as we run an optimization. Here's one of my favorites, Erik van Rooyen. Guy's popping like crazy with a 158 for whatever his salary level is. So hey, where'd he come from? I don't know, but he's popping like crazy. Super cheap on Fanduel, and popping like crazy. In this case, again, we're looking at Fanduel right now. So in the case of this particular run, if you look at, let's go find this Van Rooyen guy. What was his salary? 8,800. Yeah, I mean he's got a significantly higher grade than everybody else in this range. And you see some other guys. You really see, if you just look at these numbers, you just see dramatic differences here. And this is what I love about the grades. These two guys projected almost the same, but look at the fairly dramatic difference in grades between these two guys. Let's go down and, like, Billy Horschel, 83. I'm sure he's in lineups here. No. Even that, no. But nonetheless, yeah, because Van Rooyen at 153, he stands out so much above the rest of this area. And here's another one. Webb Simpson just stands out massively amongst the crowd. And actually, Webb, as I look right now, is crushing this tournament at the moment, as is Van Rooyen. So, I mean, these are very predictive grades. I love this approach. It's different from what other people do. And again, we're eventually going to have a situation where you can upload your own custom results right into the Domination Station. We're not there quite yet, but we do have it where, you certainly are welcome to go through if you want to create your own weightings for this. You can do it right here. You can manually input them into the Domination Station. You can also just get a quick visual on who's popping. And you can see it. If you sort this by salary, you can see who's popping. Here's Matsuyama, 244, 8,500. Everybody else in the salary range, significantly lower. There's Simpson, popping. Where's my boy Van Rooyen? You know he's popping. Should be right around here somewhere. There he goes. Yeah, look at this. Popping. 197. Everybody else is way lower. So this is a real... And Joaquin Nyman. Now, our projections that we create in DFS Army are similar, but they, in a sense, they're taking similar inputs, but the difference here is dramatic. You're seeing dramatic differences between players in similar salary ranges, and that's the stuff that I really love. So you can now, using the Domination Station, optimize by grade, not just by DFS Army points, or in essence a projection, a created projection. You can optimize by DFS Army grades. Very cool situation. Now next, because there is more, but wait, there is more. Now if you look here, you'll see that we have projected ownerships for every player. This is a super important feature. Super important, because ownerships are everything in daily fantasy sports, especially in high variance sports like PGA. Very, very important. People often ask, well, how much exposure should I get to a certain player? Well, you have a guideline right here in projected ownership. Now, what does this mean? What do you mean a guideline? How the fuck do I know how much exposure I should get to this guy? Well, here's the deal. You as a player need to make decisions. We can't make every decision for you. You got to make decisions. But as you look through these ownership projections, you can start to formulate what decisions you want to make. Here we go. Adam Scott is the chalkiest guy. Let's sort it. The chalkiest chalk on this slate is this group right here. 25, 25, 24, 22. The over 20% in a golf contest is major chalk. So you make a decision as a user. Do I want to go field level exposure? Do I want to go under the field? Do I want a full fade? Do I want to go over the field and say, I love him so much, I'm just going to... Going field level, going average is going to produce an average result. So you make decisions as a user. I love Adam Scott. I want to go 100%. Okay. I hate Adam Scott, or I don't like him when he's chalk. He's not likely to win the tournament. I'd rather root for him to bust, miss the cut. I'll put a 0 on that. Same thing with all of these chalk guys. If you've got players projected for 25%, you make a decision. Do I want more than the field? Do I want less than the field? Do I want the same? That is the decision that you make. Now here's a secondary really cool feature of the new Domination Station. Again, working with projected ownerships. Our lineups will now show the total projected ownership. And you as a user get to sort by total projected ownership. So let's say an overall, and you don't feel, and we know this to be true, that it's very rare that a super chalky lineup is winning a tournament. And even when it does, there's a great chance you're going to have a bunch of ties, and it's just minus EV to enter contests. using lineups that are probably really likely to tie. Like, statistics show that you need at least one or two really, really low-owned players, golfers in your lineup to have any shot of taking down a massive tournament. So what you might do is say, you know what? We sorted by percent ownership, and you know what? I'll make more lineups to make this more dramatic. I only want, let's say I want to upload 20 lineups today. I'm going to make 30 though. I'm going to put this back to 100% for the purpose of this experiment. Now again, right now, I am now optimizing by DFS Army grade. That's what's powering the optimization, which is why these numbers don't look like actual numbers that anybody would ever actually score. Now, as we make these lineups, you're going to see these total percentage ownerships, and they move around and whatnot. Did I leave on Lucas Glover, 96? Yes, I did. So I also left on the randomization here, so you'll see the numbers kind of switching up quite a bit. 29, 30, there we go. Okay, so we've just generated 30 new lineups. Once again, we can sort by total projected ownership. And here, if I don't want too chalky, I could just start eliminating these 105s, 104s, 103s, because I only needed 20 lineups, so I'm just going to get rid of the 10 chalkiest ones. And now I've got a set of lineups with lower ownership percentages overall. And as you go down the list, it's lower and lower and lower. Now, obviously, there are other ways to achieve this as well. You can look at high percentage owner or high projected ownership golfers and just limit them or X them out. But this is just another way to make sure that you're not putting in lineups that are too chalky. Because we know, again, what wins a tournament, a GPP, most frequently is generally not a super chalk lineup. And by chalk, we mean high-owned players across the entire lineup itself. So all of the tools are at your exposure. DFS Army, PGA. I didn't even get into what else we have going on because this really isn't meant to be a full PGA tutorial. Obviously, if you're in DFS Army, you know that for golf, for example, we have coaches' notes. They're awesome. So we've already went over we've already went over the research station, the stat cruncher, the domination station. Every sport also has coaches' notes, super critical. I mean, like I said, I'm being redundant in mentioning this stuff just in case you didn't know. But no matter what sport it is, I don't care how niche it is, we've got a set of coaches' notes from one of the best players in the world, breaking down the entire slate for you, giving you an idea of who to play in cash and who to play in GPP and who to fade and you know, value and cash core and all this kind of stuff. So lots and lots of great info. Oh, look at that. Adam Scott. So Taco has got us pretty much fading all of the chalk. This is a sharp DFS player. He knows his shit. Here we go. We've got a second coach, DFS Up North, super sharp. Also breaking down the slate for you. You can follow whoever you want. We've got Brody as well, breaking down the slate for you as well somewhat. So you've got all kinds of options available here. But again, our primary focus today is the Domination Station PGA product. And as you can see, we've covered all of the new options that we've built into it. It's awesome. I can't wait to use it myself. I'm super excited to go live with this. This is currently sitting in our beta mode. Again, it's July 18th, but by the time you're probably seeing this, or most people are seeing this on YouTube or you know, in our DFS Army PGA strategy content section, this will already be live. And again, what you've got here is some new features, the prioritized completion, and of course, optimized by DFS Army grade. And now you also understand what goes into it, and you have a little bit of an idea of how to control ownerships in the lineups that you're creating. So good luck, kick ass. Let's keep on crushing PGA. I love this sport, super fun, year round. Let's get it going. And of course, if you have any questions anytime, you always can ask us within the DFS Army forums. You can ask any of these pros that you just saw. These are not far away people Taco is answering questions out there. DFS Up North is in our Slack channel answering your questions. These guys are awesome. So good luck crushing PGA for the foreseeable future.